Hello and welcome back to Interactive Music Theory Level 1. I'm Kelvin Cummings and this is Lesson 5 of 14 lessons. If you check down in the descriptions below, you'll notice that there is textbooks available for all of the work that I'm going to be covering here today. There is extension puzzles and there's also the notes for everything that is covered within this video as well. The whole concept of these lessons here is to become a lot more familiar with how music looks on paper, so with music theory, so that when we're playing our musical instruments we're able to match it up in the written form there as well. Okay. While you're there, just make sure that you subscribe and click the notification button there as well so you don't miss out on any future content which may occur. Right, in today's lesson we're going to be learning about the sharp symbol and what it does. We're going to have a look at what the flat symbol does, and we're going to have a look at the natural symbol and figure out what that does there. So those three kind of work in tandem with each other quite a bit, and we'll not only look at what they look like, but we'll have a listen to how they sound on a keyboard as well. We're going to have an idea of what the term accidental is as well, which relates to those ones there. In addition to that, we're going to have a look at time signatures, and over the last few sessions we've been looking at mostly things which have 4 beats within a bar, but that's not always the case. So time signatures are a way for us to be able to figure out exactly how many beats are going to be within those bars or those measures. We're also going to introduce ourselves to some other simple Italian terms which are going to be for speeds of music. We have to forgive my English on this one here because there's some words which I'm still a little bit hazy on myself. The work here is going to be on page 12 of that work booklet, 13 of the work booklet, 31 and 39. Okay, so this is the sequence of this. Is we're going to have a quick revision of those note types that we had there before. Time signatures will be the first thing we'll do, which will be on page 31. We're going to have a look at a little bit of a time signature type game to be able to test your knowledge of those. I'm going to introduce you to the sharps, the flats, the naturals, and ultimately the accidentals. There's a little bit of an oral test which will go with that. We'll have a look at those Italian terms there for changing tempo as time goes on, and then we'll finish it off with a bit of a puzzle there as well. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, for the sake of this, we know that this one here, when it's a hollow note, is called a semi-breve. Semi-breve going for 4 beats. Now note that these are UK-based music terms. I know that in the States that they call this a whole note, but for the terms of this particular video here, I'm going to be using the UK terms. So semi-breve, now these ones here go for 4 beats. Okay. Now that means that within a normal bar, you generally just pop one of those notes in there and that'll be able to fill up the entire thing with 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just plays all the way through. Then we've got these ones here, that hollow note, but it's got a stem on it and can either be up on the up on the right or down on the left. Those there are called minims. Now minim goes for 2 beats. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth. This one here, half that again, we have got ourselves a crotchet, which goes for 1 beat out of our entire bar. And then we've got this one here with a little tail, which is called a quaver, and that goes for half of a beat. It's important that we know all of these because when we come into these time signatures, we're going to be able to figure out exactly how many of those we're going to be able to pop into this. So this first one's probably the most common here on page 31 in your work booklets, which reminder available in that link or the description down below if you haven't got it already. So a time signature appears at the start of a piece of music. The purpose of it is to be able to give the musician an idea of exactly how long the piece of music is going to be played for each of those bars and measures. Okay, so in this particular case here, we have this top number here, so this one, boom, is talking about how many of those beats we're going to be coming across. So in this particular case here, we're looking at 4. So 4 beats within this bar. Now what type of beats? Well, that is discovered by this bottom number here. So that number, if the number is 4, which it is here, that means that they are 4 crotchet beat lengths, or those single beat ones. Remember on that previous page how we were talking about these ones here going for 1 beat length? In this case here, we're looking at a bar which has got 4 of those 1 beat ones there. You can sometimes have a 2 written down there at the bottom. Not as common, but it is there, which means that in this case here, if we had a 2 at the bottom, that means each of those notes would be the length of a minim, or 2 beats each, which would be quite a long bar in this one here. And sometimes you get an 8 down here, which means that we'd be measuring them in quaver lengths. But the important part here is that in this particular case, 4/4, we're looking at 4 crotchet beat lengths in this one here. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4/4, 4 of those crotchet beat lengths, that would be the length of each of our bars. Okay, we could piece it up with other things, but it would have to equal the same amount as those 4 crotchets. Okay, so that is our 4/4. So the top number is talking about the number of beats. In this particular case here, 4 beats. That bottom number is telling us what type of beat. Well, as I mentioned there before, we are talking about crotchet beat lengths here, those single beat ones there. So therefore, in this case here, this time signature would be telling the musician that we would have 4 crotchet beat lengths. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It follows that sort of pattern all the way through. Okay. Now, if we had this, however, this one here, that top number there, is telling us that there is 3 beats within this bar. What type of beats? Well, the bottom number is telling us that there is crotchets, being able to put this together. So, therefore, we can say that the meaning of 3/4 is that there is going to be 3 crotchet beats per length. So, it's also called waltz, this one here. So it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we've got the equivalent of that within this. Okay? 2/4. Snappy, this one. Snappy, so how many beats have we got there? That top number is telling us that there is 2 beats within this particular bar. That number 4 down at the bottom is telling us what type of beat. In this particular case, crotchets. Okay, so not too dissimilar to the other 2 that we've just discovered there as well. So therefore in this one, that 2/4 means that we have 2 crotchet beats within the bar. So that means we've got the equivalent of 1, 2 in this one here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it goes like that. Quite often used within marches. And just a reminder with all of these, as long as the bar equals the amount that it is saying here, it's still going to work. So we've got beat 1, beat 2, done. 1 and 2. So that one there would work as well. So go 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2. So we've got that 2 beats per that bar, but 2 of those crotchet beat lengths. Okay, so that's really important with these time signatures. So let's have a figure out how many within these can we fill up these crotchets in here. So that one says 2/4, so 2 of those crotchet beat lengths. So in that one there we should have 1 and 2. If you're unsure of where this work is, it's still there on page 31 of your work booklet. Then we've got the second one here, which is that 3/4 or that waltz time. We need 3 of them this time, 3 crotchets. 1, here's my second one, here's my third one. Okay, and then we've got this standard common time signature here, that 4/4, so we need 4 of our crotchets this time around here. Here goes 1, here goes 2, here goes my third, and here goes my fourth. Okay, so 2/4, or cut time there, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We've got waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got this common one here, that 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So the time signature is being able to tell us how long each of these bars is going to go for. Up to this point, we've been using just 4/4. However, I'm going to be testing you on that, and we're going to change it up as time goes on. So In this particular case here, still on page 31, we've got this one here, where we've got some quavers, those ones there going for half a beat each, and then we've got some crotchets there, we've got a minim here. One of these three is not accurate, okay, so we need to figure out exactly which. Knowing that these here equal 4 beats, these semi-breves, knowing that minims equal 2 beats, knowing that crotchets equal 1 beat, and knowing that quavers, and they all seem to be joint here, so let's join those ones. Half, there we go, each. You see that? Yeah, sweet. So that's worth half, and that is worth half. Okay, so let's do the maths. So we've got half, we've got, whoops, we'll make that a bit better. Half, half, yeah. got a half, and there's a whole beat there. So does that equal 3 crotchet beat lengths? Well, let's have a think. Half plus half equals 1. Another half plus another half equals another 1. So there's 1 and 2. And then we've got one more there, 3. So does that equal 3, 4? Yeah, it does. It does this time. So let's have a look at this one. There goes a quaver, half beat. Another quaver, half beat. There goes for 1 beat. There goes a crotchet. We've got a half beat with our quaver here, another half beat with our quaver here, another crotchet here. So let's do the maths on this one. Half plus half equals 1 whole beat there. We've got another whole beat here with this crotchet. We've got a half and a half of this one here. So that's 3 so far. Half and half, 1 and half and half, plus 1 more. Time signature says 4, 4, so 4 crotchet beat lengths. Does this equal 4? Yes, yes it does. So 2 halves equals 1, plus another 1, there's 2, plus another half, that's 2 and a half, plus another half equals 3, plus 1 more equals 4. So that one there equals that. Let's have a look at the last one. Here goes beat 1. That goes for 1 beat. There's a crotchet. We've got 2 quavers, so he goes in half beat here and a half beat here. We've got a crotchet beat here, and then we've got this one here. That's a minim, so that goes for 2 beats. So let's do the math on that one. 1 beat plus a half, so 1 and a half, plus another half equals 2, plus 1 more equals 3, plus 2 more equals 5. Now that won't work for us because this is a 4-4, it's not a 5-4, so this one here is that one is our incorrect one here because it's got too many of these notes, or too larger length notes to be able to make this work. We could fix this by making that a crotchet and just making that an individual note, but task here was to circle the incorrect bar below. If you were going to circle that, that one would be your incorrect one this time round. Okay, let's move on. So we need to place one of these to be able to complete this bar. Now let's have a think. If we're going to place one of these notes in here to be able to make it complete, we know that this is going to be 4-4, so 4 beats. So there's go 1 beat there. We've got 2 halves of this, so that's your 2 and, which means we've got the space for 2 beats here. So which out of these ones here is going to be 2 beats? That's right, it's going to be our minim. Okay, so there goes my minim. Got 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, that minim there is going to be able to take those 2 beats, which completes this bar. Let's have a look at the third one. So here goes beat number 1. But we've still got 2 beats, don't we? So in this case here, we are looking for something which is going to fill up 2 beats. Oops, 2 beats. In this case here. So out of these ones here, which one's going to do the job? Minim again. Minim going for 2 beats. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's taking up those 2 beats there. Here goes this last one here. 2, 4. How many beats within this? 2 crotchet beat lengths. So let's narrow it out. Here goes beat number 1. We need something here which is going to fit 1 beat. So that 1 beat out of the ones which we've got available to us is this final crotchet, like so. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and so on. Okay, so that's a complete bar now, that's a complete bar now, that's a complete bar now, so we've been able to fill those up appropriately there on page 31. Okay, and remember these notes here are going to be in the description down below. So, adding bar lines. Now, bar lines, remember, are just straight down line like that. There's no dots or anything applied to this one here. So we need to figure out exactly where these lines are going to go. So, 4 crotchet beat lengths here. So we've got beat 1, beat 2, beat 4. Each of those goes for 1 beat. So here goes my first bar line. Then we've got a 1, we've got a 1, we've got a 2. 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 4. So here goes my new bar line. Boom. Okay, so all we're effectively doing here is we are completing the bar or completing the measure to be able to make sure that it all fits. So in this case here, that semi-brief goes for 4 beats. So that there can have a bar line straight after it. There's nothing else that can fit in there. And then we've got this, we've got 1 beat here, 1 beat here, 2 beats here. Well, there goes another 4. Got that. Now I'm going to put a double bar line there, and that's kind of a flashback to one of the earlier lessons where I said that if we're going to finish a piece of music, 2 bar lines there again, or a double bar line is going to be able to wrap that piece up. Okay, but you only do that right at the end of the piece. So here we go. The 3, 4, 1 here. So we've got beat 1, we've got another beat 1, we've got another beat 1, which is 1, 2, 3 bar line. There's my first set of 3. I'm looking for 3 crotchet lengths this time around. 1, 2, 3. Like so. In this case here, we've got a 2 for that minim. And so we're not quite filled that 3, 4 bar at this point. We need to pop in one of those as well. So here goes our crotchet there. And then we've got beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. Double bar line to finish it up. Right, here we go. We've got a 2, 4 this time here. So last one here, we've got 2, 4. These ones here, a reminder that these quavers go for half each. So we're working in fractions. So half and half equals 1, plus 1 more equals 2. There goes our first bar. There goes 1 crotchet beat, another crotchet beat. There goes our second bar. These ones here. Now, if you forgot with that one there, we did mention it on a previous lesson. Each of these, because it's only beamed with 1 line at the top, these are all worth half a beat. They're all quavers. Okay, so here goes a quaver here. So half a beat, half a beat, half a beat, and 1 more half beat here. 2 halves equal 1, plus another 2 halves equal 1. That there is 2, 4 length of a bar, okay? So that there fills up the whole bar just by itself. We've got a minim here, which goes for 2 bars anyway, so that's going to fill up the bar by itself. The rest of this should be nice and easy. So we've got beat 1, beat 2, of crotchets there, so there goes our next bar. Got another couple here, so here goes our next bar. Another couple with these ones. And here goes a minim just to finish it off. So 1, 2, and double bar line. Okay, so in this case here, we've got, for the first one, it's going to sound like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the first one there, rhythmic wise. We got the third one, the 3, 4, 1 here, which is this middle one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that one holding there. And the last one here, that 2, 4 was 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? So just plain and simply being able to make sure that when we are looking at this here, we're just completing the bars, we're completing the measures by being able to slot in the right number of notes, or ultimately we could be able to put in the right number of rests there as well. We've only really discussed a little bit of that in the past, so we'll work on that a little bit more in the future. So, first of all, don't worry about the instructions above. That's all relating to if I play this as a team game. Regrettably, that's not going to be how we're going to run it today. But a little bit of a quiz on this one here. So let's have a look at this first card here. we've got a crotchet, a crotchet, a crotchet beat rest, and then we've got a bar line. Then we've got a crotchet beat rest, and a crotchet. So this time here, which time signature would you have? Well, if you wrote this time here as a 3/4, then you'd be correct, because there's 3 beats, or 3 of those crotchet beats, within each of those bars there. Let's have another 3 goes at this one here. So here goes my second one. Okay, so we've got a half beat, a crotchet, a quaver, a quaver, a quaver, a quaver, and a crotchet. So we've got 4 quavers and a crotchet, 4 halves plus 1. Then we've got a bar line. Okay, then we've got a minim plus a crotchet beat rest. So we've got a 2 beat and a 1 beat there. So again, if you chose 3/4 for this one, you'd be accurate. So you've been able to find the right time signature this time around here. So 2 more to go. We got a crotchet beat rest, and it looks like a minim rest there. So that's 2 beats. So 1 plus 2, and then the same again, 1 plus 2. Same again. I want to give you a little bit more variety here, so hopefully I get another card here that's able to give me something more. No, that's the same one. Hold on. Let's keep going. They're not all 3/4. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a crotchet beat and another crotchet beat. So this time round, how many crotchets have we got this particular time here? Well, in this case, 1, 2. We've got 2 crotchet beats there, which means in this case, 2/4 is going to be able to work. Let's have, hopefully, there we've got 2 halves and a whole. Yeah, so we're going to be able to make that work. We got, just going to try and change this up here. So we've got one which is going to give us a little bit more variety. Hey, they're all the ones that we've covered. Here we go, perfect. So this last one has got, and I'm not quite sure how clear you can see it, but it's got a quaver and a quaver connected like that. So you got a half and a half. It's given us a crotchet, or that 1 whole beat. It's given us a couple of quavers again, which is 2 more halves, and it's given us a crotchet there. Boom, with a whole beat there. And then for its second bar, it's given me a semi-brief. Now that there means that if you have chosen this time here a 4/4 beat, then you would be accurate. Okay, so the concept of this is that we are trying to find out exactly how many beats we're going to be able to put in there, whether it be crotchets, minims, quavers, semi-breves, the works. We're trying to fill up each of these bars like we're filling up a cup with water. Okay, so let's have a quick wee look now at something a little bit different. This is on page 12. Now with this here, that symbol to a lot of the youth nowadays, they kind of treat it as a hashtag. That's not what we call it here in music. We call them sharps. So a sharp sign means that we raise the particular pitch of the note by 1 semitone. So for example, here goes my F note. Here goes my F. Now if I'm going to raise it up 1 semitone, I'm raising it up to this here. Not quite sharp here. So that is an F sharp. So it is the one which is just above. Okay. So sharp is, and I'm going to go back to the keyboard for the sake of this. When we've got that note there, that F, it's this key just above. Okay. So here goes my G. It's the black key just above. That's the G sharp. So here goes my A. There goes my A sharp there straight afterwards. So you get the hint of it. So here's my C. C sharp is that black key just above it. There's my D. Here's my D sharp above it. Now reality is E, you could argue that F is an E sharp as well, but we don't tend to call it that. We just call it an F. So we're talking about these black keys this time round. So when we're talking about that sharp symbol, that's raising it to the next one there. So F to an F sharp, or C to a C sharp, and so on. So that's what the sharp symbol stands for. The flat symbol, however, which kind of looks like a little B, Lowers the pitch, so rather than going from C to a C sharp, actually I'll change that again, sorry. Rather than going from a D to a D sharp, this time here it'll be a D going down to a D flat. Now think of it in this particular instance. If you are really, really sharp, really onto it, you go to the top of the class, you do really, really well and you succeed. So if you're sharp, you go up. If you're flat, if you're lying down flat, like whether you're lying on the ground or lying on the sand of the beach or lying in your bed, you're flat, you're low down there, okay? So sharp, go up, flat, go down, okay? So for example of this, a B going to that black key just beforehand, that's going to be a B flat, which is that symbol there. Kind of like a lowercase b, but not quite. I'll explain how to draw that shortly. So, an example of that, so here goes my B, and here goes my B flat. Now, you may spot that on here it says A sharp. This B flat is actually an A sharp as well. So you notice it is the black key just above an A, but it is also a B flat. So it can go by two names, just as much as that G going down to that one there could be a G flat, but it could also be an F sharp. Okay, so that's, I know that's probably going to add an extra spanner into the works and may confuse you a bit, but the idea is if it is sharp, goes up, if it's flat, goes down, okay? And those black keys have got a couple of different names with them. So when we're drawing these sharps, it's important that with this here that you've got 4 movements. So 1 straight down, 2 straight down, 3 straight across, 4 straight across. So there's not really a lot of challenge in this particular one. So it just looks like you're drawing a super small tic-tac-toe or noughts and crosses grid. Okay. With this here, drawing flats officially is a single movement in this one here. So you're going straight down, and when you're straight down, you're actually curving kind of up on an angle and back into itself. So actually I'll showcase that again. So down, up, and in there. So it's not like a lowercase b like that. So it's not like that. Down, up on a bit of an angle, and then kind of into itself there. You notice that we've got a few tracing options there for you on page 12 for you to be able to follow. Okay. So I'll just erase that one there. Okay. So sharps go up, flats go down. Now when we're drawing this within music, we have to be quite careful of this. Now when we're putting the notes in, we're putting them on a space or on a line. Now if we're after a particular type of note, so for example if we wanted to get that F out to an F sharp, we would have to make sure that within our piece of music that we were, in fact we've got a copy of this in our treble clef, that's on an F line there, means my sharp has to be on that space. Now notice that the grid kind of works to be able to have that line going straight through. So it's not like this, where I'm covering too many spaces there, so it's not like that at all. It's covering just that space. Okay, so that there would be for an F. If I wanted to do one for a C, I'd go down to that point there, because it's specifically telling me which note I'm going to be making a sharp or making a flat. For the sake of this activity, may I suggest you just do a line of those in F sharps. Now with this one here, we've got this on the middle line of that treble clef, so that's going to be a B this time around, so down there. And same rule applies. The guts of that circular bit of that flat symbol, that's going to be on that line there. So give me a line of those as well. So a line of those sharps there on that F, for that one there on page 12. And for the flats, give me a line of those flats on a B line here for those there. Okay? It's really important that you get them the right size. So, now That's about getting them to get to up to that black key or down to that black key. But we've got a symbol here which is called a natural sign. This is used to basically cancel any of the sharps and flats, because when you use an F sharp or a B flat or whatever it happens to be, effectively what it's telling the musician is that from now on, until I tell you otherwise, you will always make that F an F sharp, or that B a B flat, or that C a C sharp, whatever it happens to be. So this symbol here comes in to be able to cancel it. So, unless it is cancelled by a natural, you consider it to be still a sharp. So, for example, in this one here we've got, and I'm going to write the notes up here just so it's clear. So we've got a G, we've got an F sharp, we've got a G again. Now that F sharp, notice how the sharp is just before the note itself. So we've got a G, F sharp, G, there goes another G there. We've got an A, we've got a G. Now that symbol there, because I know that it looks just like a regular F, but because we had that F sharp there before, that will also be an F sharp. Nobody told us to change it. So that's going to be an F sharp. And we're going back to the G. Now what we can do, however, with this symbol, this natural symbol, is that G, that F sharp, and a reminder that F sharp symbol comes just before the black key, or the note itself. We've got the G here, G here, A, G, and notice this time here we've got that natural symbol, which is close. It's close to a sharp, but it's not quite. It's missing kind of a few bits around the outside. That would make this an F note this time round, like a proper F, which gets us back to that. Okay, so G, F sharp, G, G, A, G, F sharp, G, because it hasn't told us to change. In this case here, G, F sharp, G, G, A, G, F, because it wants it to become a natural note again and come back to the white key, G. So sharps go up, or sharps go to the top of the class. Flats are low, lie down flat, and natural just goes back to that middle point, goes right back to that white key that we were after there before. So that's on page 13, okay? So if you're unsure, page 13. So what we're going to do here is we're going to drop these natural symbols in to be able to change the note, because at the moment, that's an F sharp, and that would consider that to be an F sharp as well. So if we're going to be playing that here, that would be F sharp being played twice. However, we want this to become an F sharp going to an F natural, or a regular white key. Now notice how I'm dropping that down to the exact space this time around, because it's an F. So that means that this F sharp here is going to go down to an F natural, like so. Okay, so F sharp, and now that is a regular old F. Okay, or F natural. So let's go to this one here. That key there is a B, because it's on that middle line. It's a flat. Notice how I put that flat symbol there. And we want this to become the natural version of it. So we're wanting to create it such a way so that it was a B going down to, a B flat going up to a B. So let's put that natural symbol in there. Now because that B is on that line this time, not the space, we need to make sure that that's on the line to be able to match it up. So you see what we're working with here? So that was a B flat, that is now a B. Let's have a look at this one. There's a C sharp in this particular case, on that ledger line there. And we are now going to be moving that up to a regular old C. So that there, down to a regular old C. So here's my C sharp and regular C. So we're looking at C sharp, C. Okay, so that's how all of those work there. That natural is bringing us back to that white key again, and all of this is on page 13 within your work booklets. Right, accidentals is effectively the collective word for sharps, flats, and naturals. Okay, so they're on page 13, and you probably already have this in your notes. Sharps, flats, and naturals, they're effectively all called accidentals. Okay, so if I'm talking about accidentals, you'll notice that within this, this here is an accidental. That flat, that B flat there, we've got a B flat here. We've got C sharp here. We've got another C sharp here. We've got a B flat here. Doesn't look like we've got any natural symbols here, but these are examples of those accidentals which are cropping up in this particular piece of music. Okay, so we've got sharps which go up to the black key, flats which go down to the black key, naturals which bring it from the black key back to the white key, so those regular natural ones, but all of them together, if we were talking about them as a collective type thing, they're all called accidentals. So let's add accidentals to make all of the F sharps in this particular piece of music, all the Fs into this, turn them into an F sharp. Well, the reality is, find my first one, make sure that's right in the space, that there would be enough for me to be able to do this. Because if I've done that once, there's no natural symbols to tell me to go otherwise. So that means that that G, F, well, F sharp now, G, A, B, C, D, E, B, that there, that F is actually an F sharp because we haven't told it otherwise. Okay, so that's effectively all you need to do. If you wanted to, let's just add, for the sake of argument, sharp to all the F's here. Here goes an F which is sitting on the top there. I'll make sure that it's in line as well. And we've got another one here. But the reality is that first one should be enough. Okay, so, and I'll just highlight that. Boom. That one there would pretty much make the rest of these redundant. We wouldn't need the rest of them because that sharp symbol there would tell us that that would be an F sharp regardless. Same with that, same with that, same with that. Okay. That's all on page 13. So, listening test time. So we've only got 4 questions, this one here. And we're going to be listening to whether we can hear that the note is a flat or whether it is a sharp. Now, knowing that, for the sake of this, and let's go G for the example of this. So here goes a G. If it's a G sharp, it'll be slightly up. And we've got a G, but if it was a G flat, it would be down there. So that's the sort of thing that you're going to be listening out for. So for number 1 out of our 4 tasks here, which of these notes is an E flat? So I'm going to play the E first. Okay, nice flute action there. Which of these, A or B, would be an E flat? Would it be this one? Or would it be this one? Okay, play that one more time. So we're looking, here's your E note. Is it going to be A or is it going to be B? So that's A. Okay. In this particular one here, what was your choice of answer? Well, if you chose A, here goes your E, we're going down flat, so we're going slightly down this one here to the semitone just before it. Right, so let's have a look at number 2. This is a B. Now we're looking for a B flat, so this is going down this time around here. So here goes your B. Here goes the other option. Now one of those is correct, so I'll play them one more time. Let's see if you've got it. So for number 2, this is a B note. And there's the second one. So this time here, which one do you think it's going to be? In this case here, your correct answer would be B. Okay, so that flat just coming from that B note to the black key just before it. Right, let's have a look at number 3. Note that this is an F. We're going to an F sharp this time, so it's going to be the one going up. Possibly. Let's have a listen to this F again. one of these two is correct. Let's have one more play of them. We're looking for which one of these is an F sharp going upwards. Or is it okay, you should have your answer by now. The correct answer this time here was A. So F sharp. Okay, last one. This is a G. And now we're looking for a G sharp. So it should sound like it's just coming just up to the next one there. So is it possibly? That one there I think is quite clear for us. So if we're talking about going sharp and going up, I think we only have one option. So we've got an A for that one there. Then G up to a G sharp. So that is the probably the keyboard here. So G sharp. Being able to match it up to there. Okay, if you got 4 out of 4, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back and do a whole pile of thumbs up and give yourself some stickers on your sticker chart there. But ultimately, well done for being able to do that. Now this one here, forgive me for any misspoken words and things like that, but I'm going to try and say it as well as I can. These are just revision of some of the Italian terms that we've had. So in the past, the word that goes for very fast is called presto. So if we're wanting a song to be played fast, we'll have the word presto written at the start there somewhere saying play fast. Okay. Allegro, a reminder, means fast and lively, so it's kind of like presto, a little bit slower than that, but it's got a bit of a step into it and stuff. So it's just upbeat. So rather than going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 like that, it's probably a 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. It's got like a feel to it. Okay. The Italian term that means at an easy walking pace. So if you checked your notes there last time, you will notice that one there is andante, which is just nice and casual sort of tempo there. So 1 2 3 4, or let's have a test of this. 1 2 3 1 2 3, or 1 2, depending on what we're having. Moderato, you can kind of see it within the word there. Moderate speed, and then adagio, which is slowly. So that's just a recap on previous lessons. Now, we've got some other words here which are going to be able to have the tempo where we have a different change within the speed of music. So these words here, accelerando or accelerando, as I said, accelerando is how I've been used to saying it. Which is gradually becoming faster. So the word accelerate comes from Italian there. So accelerando, to accelerate, becoming gradually faster. Rallentando, I'll get it. Rallentando, becoming just slower over time. Retardando, which is also becoming slower. So we've got a couple of different terms here. Retenuto, which is immediately becoming slower. Also can be called rit for short. And then we've got a tempo or a tempo, which is returning back to the former speed. So if it originally said adagio and then it was accelerando and like speeding it up, then we went a tempo or up tempo, that brings us back to that original tempo that we were at. Okay, so these are the terms which are all there on page 39. A bit of a tongue twister, especially if you're not used to speaking Italian. If you are, I'm so sorry for my pronunciation, but you get the idea that these particular words here are standing for things becoming gradually fast or gradually becoming slower or pretty much slowing down straight away, or going back to the original tempo. So, which terms gradually become slower? Rallentando or retardando are going to be the ones which go slower. After what terms would you find the words a tempo or a tempo? Well, pretty much anything because if you're speeding up or you're slowing down or you're doing an immediate slowdown with ritenuto, then you can drop a tempo there to say, hey look, come back to the original tempo. Okay. What's the difference between these two here? Well, that one there is slowing down more suddenly. So ritenuto is becoming 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So like it slows down straight away. Whereas this one here is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it slows down periodically over time. So it's like if you're like mixing as a DJ, you've got a tempo sort of control there. You can kind of like just naturally slow everything down there, which is kind of cool. Like if you've been able to try that. What is the correct term for speeding up in a piece of music? That correct term is accelerando, or accelerando. So you need to make sure that you've got these particular words here on page 39 of your notes, and maybe your mission is to be able to go onto Google videos there and be able to figure out exactly how to say them right, because I'm not 100% convinced that I've got them correct. Alright, so last time I beavered through here and didn't show the answers. I did that on purpose, partly because I thought that by showing the video there that gave you too much of an option to be able to solve the problem straight away. So in this one here we have got a few words that you just need to decode. We've got a whole pile of different symbols and letters to go with. So for example, this first one has got a whole pile of semiquavers on it. So let's have a look. Semiquavers, we've got W there by the looks of it. So W, we've got a little symbol here which I haven't taught you about yet, which is a quaver rest. Now if we had, actually let's drop in all the W's there. So yeah, it looks like that's it. So quaver rest, let's have a look and see whether we can find it. Looks like an H there for us. We've got another H here. Another H here. Another H here. Okay, so basically what you're doing is you are in the processes of trying to solve this here. So we've got a question and we've got an answer here as well. And it's a true fact, this particular one here. So once you have solved it, yeah, you can do your research and figure out whether it's true, but to the best of my knowledge it is. But thank you very much for being part of this, the 5th lesson, I believe. Well, let's have a quick look. Yeah, of the interactive music theory lessons. I will be back with further lessons over time, so do make sure that you have subscribed and check the notification bell so that when those next videos come up, you'll be able to sign into that straight away. But otherwise, good luck with your music theory, and I look forward to catching up with you next time in Interactive Music Theory Level 1. Bye.